It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the administrative one-year contract effective date August 1, 2018 through July 31, 2019 for Mr. Adrian Allison. Then I didn't move, so we need a motion and a second.
So, second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. President.
Member Resnick.
Thank you, Mr. President. The job of school superintendent is often analogized with that of an orchestra conductor or coach. The American Association of School Administrators says the superintendent is the district leader who conducts all aspects of the district's educational, financial, and administrative performance, facilitates the performance of all personnel, and responds to and persuades an audience with varying ideas about the performance and leadership of the district. Like a conductor, he or she guides a shared vision of exemplary performance, manages disparate components and constituents to ensure progress toward that goal, and serves as a model for shared leadership. In 2006, Waters, Marzano, and McNulty published a white paper summing up, "It is no wonder that research literature on educational leadership shows a strong correlation between the quality of district leadership and the achievement of said school district." The superintendent contract is the most important vote the school board casts. The superintendent has lots of power, actually more than this board. The superintendent is the appointing authority of the district, the public face of the district, and the person for whom the board has to rely on for information, and the rest of the employees rely on for day-to-day skill and educational acumen. The superintendent votes should be difficult. They require thought, they demand careful scrutiny and evaluation. Once a superintendent contract vote gets to this point, it is also a public matter. An incumbent on individual board members to explain and stand by their vote. Because my election to this board was the last to be certified, I'm technically the newest member, and as such I vote first, which I actually enjoy. My vote sets the tone, and there's no wiggle room. I need to be really clear and decisive, and I am honored to do that for this vote as well. During this process, I've been thinking a lot about a November day in 2010. Pastor Wilbur Allen, then a member of this board, and I were representing the district at the Ohio School Boards Association Capital Conference. Now Superintendent Allison had just switched jobs from the senior leadership of this district under then Superintendent Dr. Evans to a position of leadership at the Ohio Department of Education. Member Allen and I found Mr. Allison at the conference and decided to take him for lunch. It was nearly a 4-hour lunch, and we pried for all kinds of useful information, some specific, some broad. There were some relevant questions asked and answered that afternoon that are relevant today too. Number one, is the Canton City School District doing as well as it possibly can? Number two, is the current superintendent capable of getting the district to where it needs to go? Number three, is this superintendent the right person to lead the Canton City School District right now? So tonight, I will be voting no on the resolution before us. 2 months ago, I expressed concern about the district's report card, which no one should be happy about. And I encourage the public to hold the 5 of us accountable. As board members, we don't have many arrows in our quiver to shoot at this problem. This vote is pretty much it. The public understands this dynamic when we vote for coaches. The superintendent is much more consequential than a coach. I have always agreed with State Superintendent Paulo Di Maria that there's more to a district's performance than a state report card, and that the bigger picture, the report card correlates pretty much with district poverty as much as anything else. Di Maria believes that state tests that form the basis of much of the report card are valid measures, but progress or student growth, quote, tells that other part of the story. I think there's room to criticize the way the state measures the performance of school districts, and that there is a place for individual student growth in the equation. But I also hear the wisdom of an educator I deeply respect, who reminds us that, quote, growth is not enough. Even a short tree makes growth. Let me start that again. Growth is not enough. Even a short tree makes growth, but that growth will not matter if it is still the shortest tree in the woods. We can't let the growth argument become an excuse for our students not reaching proficiency. Nor can we limit their success in a world where proficiency matters more and more just because we don't like it. Further, I argue that flawed or not, district proficiency performance measured on similar instruments and metrics is also a measure of district growth and progress. And that's where my concerns about extending Mr. Allison's tenure as superintendent become the most acute. During the first part of Mr. Allison's tenure, the state report cards changed a bit. Test vendors changed and targets were in continuous motion. There is evidence of district performance decline, but it's a lot less conclusive. That's not the case now. The standardized tests used in 2015 and 2016-17 are the same. Starting with grade 3, students are tested in subject areas of English and language arts, math, science, and social studies. The district receives 28 scores covering the grades and subject areas. Between the last 2 years, the Canton City School District showed decline in 16 of them and was statistically the same in 3, meaning that we had backward growth in 67% of the tested areas. Some is severe. For example, on the Ohio graduation test, we dropped from almost 80% proficient to 46% in math, and on reading from almost 87% to 30%. Every middle school tested area showed decline. This doesn't happen because individual students here and there are doing worse or teachers aren't working as hard. These deficiencies are structural. The Canton City School District needs and deserves an educational leader who, like a coach, can move the X's and O's around in a way that moves us forward. Another great area of concern is the measurements of how well a school district closes performance gaps among at-risk populations and populations with special needs. It's the gap closing area of the report card, and it is measured in what are called annual measurable objectives, or AMO points. This tells how well the district is meeting the educational and cultural needs of students who speak English as a second language, are Hispanic, African American, and biracial, economically disadvantaged, or receiving special education services, or a combination. In this district, this is an important score. It's important that we do well on this one. In 2015-16, the district's AMO score was 26%. Not as good as it should be, but certainly better than the latest score of 10.4%. Again, these are systemic deficiencies. Is the Canton City School District doing as well as it possibly can? Another sign of the problem is the number of employees who resign because they no longer believe in the Canton City School District or its leadership. This is dangerous if left to run its course, especially in high-poverty urban schools. because the building principals and teachers are the professionals who know the students and their families and who have the expertise to improve the educational performance. High rates of turnover, what the educational literature calls churn, is always contraindicated. Now, I'm not including retirements, nor am I including those who are dismissed for cause. I'm including only those who have resigned, quit the Canton City School District, many of whom have ended up in other school districts, often for less money. The Canton City School District used to be the district where everyone wanted to work. This is a measure of overall health of the school district. Between July 1st, 2013 and October 16th, 2017, an astonishing 291 have quit. That's certified staff. Now, an astonishing number of 291 certified staff have quit. That's 291 out of about 800. We no longer have these folks helping to drive better performance here. They're doing it somewhere else. Among classified and support staff, the numbers are similar. For the same time period, the number is another astonishing 202. We are still losing too many students to charters, vouchers, and open enrollment in other districts. This is another measure of the overall health of the district. People take their children to other schools because they lose confidence in the Canton City School District. They believe their brighter tomorrow starts somewhere else. Is this superintendent the right person to lead the Canton City School District right now? Because there will be people out there who will be inclined to dismiss my concerns as something left over from the superintendents leading the district to eliminate Timpkin High School, which I oppose, I will also comment on that. You've heard the PR and the happy talk. Now let's talk about the results. In 2015, our two high schools were holding their own. And you can see that from these charts from the State Department of Education, that McKinley was fairly stable, and Timpkin was trending up. Those are both on the 11th grade Ohio graduation test. Now let's see what happens post Timpkin High School. That's this chart. The combined schools' achievement went down almost across the board the first year. The second year, which was 2016-17, which is the current report card year, the combined schools' OGT performance dropped even more. Math dropped from 79% proficiency to 46% proficiency. Reading dropped from 87% proficiency to 30% proficiency. Science dropped from 69% to 26%. Social studies dropped from 78% to 39%. And writing dropped from 80% to 66%. This is what happens when the superintendent does not demand that the board make decisions based on best practices. In this case, small schools, small classes, and intra-district choice. Our fellow high-poverty urban districts are changing their high schools too, only looking to keep them smaller and special offerings unique to different buildings. Exactly what we had before, but no more. My final point is that in 2011, the Canton City School District rated overall number 2 behind Cincinnati among Ohio's urban 8. That point was part of the levy campaign that year, and evidence backed it up. The Fordham Institute was here trying to figure out how to replicate how well we were doing. Where are we now? In overall math, we are tied with Toledo for 3rd or 4th. In reading, grades 3 through 8, we now rank number 5. In middle school math, we now rank number 5. On February 9th, 2015, an op-ed ran in the repository under Superintendent Allison's byline for the purpose of selling the idea of a single large high school. The Canton City School District is broken, it began. It continued, imagine driving your car with a flat tire. The car may be temporarily drivable, but if driven too long, the tire will cause damage to the other parts of the vehicle. Keep driving and eventually the car will be beyond repair. Canton City School District students, families, and stakeholders need us to do better. So my vote will be no.
Any other questions or comments, board members? I have a few. I do not have prepared remarks, but let me say this. This is my 16th year on the school board, and I sat here thinking about how many superintendents we've had, and I think there have been 5. And my own observations of our current superintendent, who's a Canton City School graduate, who's a lawyer, who grew up in Canton, went to McKinley High School, who came back to Canton when he was asked to help out this district, who served with Chris Smith, as many of you will recall, as the number 2 person, and then stepped forward when Chris tragically died so quickly. We can pick and choose the state statistics to show whatever picture we want. They change the testing all the time. And so I would discourage those who are listening to this from concluding from Mr. Resnick's remark that somehow the Canton City School District is on the decline. It is not. Adrian Allison has been a great superintendent, and I intend to vote for this contract. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Member Corder-Anderson.
Thank you very much. Tonight is a very important vote, and Mr. Allison, I want you to know that I understand, and I don't want to speak for the board, but understand the sacrifices that you made for the district, and they are appreciated, as well as all of the staff, because of course we all want our students to succeed. You are an example for a lot of young men in our community, and it is great for the role that you fulfilled, even the historical nature and significance of your role. So today we are making a very important vote, and I appreciate you engaging the board in the opportunity to discuss and to come to final terms in regards to the contract. And it by no means means the words that were shared are shared individually. Mr. Resnick's comments are Mr. Resnick's comments, Mr. Milligan's comments are Mr. Milligan's comments, and I'm making my comments, and ultimately we all have to vote tonight. So above everything, thank you for your service.
Mr. Rinaldi and then Mr. Benson.
Going on 9 years, I've been sitting here, and I can say that we spent a great deal of time, a great deal of honest conversations, a great deal of face-to-face banter, and we hear the community, we hear the employees, and we had an honest dialogue with the superintendent face-to-face that throughout my career, I think it might be the first time really that to be able to sit down and look at each other and talk about the weaknesses and some of the things that we see together. You know, we talked about discipline and safety. We hear you. We talked about better employee board and superintendent relationships. We hear you. We talked about at length about student achievement and the value in some of the things we're doing. Spent a great deal of time on this, and we should, because that's why we're elected. It's easy to burn the house down, but you got to fix it together. You got to identify it. You've got to work through some things, some tough situations. But together, we've got to fix this. We're elected. If you're sitting at this table, you have a vested part of this community. And we've taken a lot of time to have honest conversations, face to face, no secrets. There's expectations placed on everybody up here, and we understand that.
Mr. Grizzly.
Thank you, Mr. President. And when I first got here, I thought of you probably think, oh, he don't say very much, you know. I'm not one for doing a lot of talking, but I did do a lot of listening, and I did a lot of watching. And here lately, I've seen things change for the better in this district. And I also hear it from people. Of course, you're not going to hear all good things from everybody, but the ones that count, to me, to come up and say it. And Adrian has been under the gun. He has some great ideas. And I see them coming together. I think it's a work in progress. And to me, right now, to anchor the ship and let's not get back on it for a while, the kids will be in total chaos. I think we're headed in the right direction. I think the kids have had enough change. They're adapting to it. And you can see by the way a lot of these kids come in here to get their awards. And I mean, it's just amazing to watch it. But there's things I can see getting better. I see better relationships. And on the teacher's point also, not just in the students. The students are getting along fine. Nobody said they could do it, but they are doing it. So with that in mind, Adrian, I sure would like to keep you around, and you've got my vote to do that. Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Resnick? No. Ms. Minor-Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Grinsley?
Yes.
Mr. Rinaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Milligan?
Yes. Yes, Superintendent Allison.
Thank you. So a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank the board for that vote. As Mr. Rinaldi said, I do recognize the time that was put in. We've had honest conversation about what we all see. I appreciate the fact that if we're going to do this, if we're going to achieve anything, we have to do it together. And we cannot be working at odds with each other, but working together with each other. As I shared during our meeting in private, and I will share in public, that I am willing to do just that. The performance expectations that you have, as I've also shared, I believe that myself and Mr. Nero, senior staff, everybody here believes in those things. We believe in doing what's right for kids. We want to have academic improvement. We want to have still buildings that are safe and secure for students and for staff. We want to do the right things, and we're not, we've never claimed to be perfect, but what we are claiming to be is trying to do the absolute very best for our kids. And so I appreciate the vote tonight. We will continue to work really hard to make this city proud, to make our parents and our community proud, and make this board proud. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.